Good morning. Welcome to artwithcorb.com on a bright, beautiful morning. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the idea of drawing and creating artwork based on negative space. So what I'm going to do is, rather than look at the space that the buildings here occupy, I'm going to look at the space that they don't occupy. And some of the other things I'm going to look at within this space are things like, where do these windows occupy? How is that space dealt with? So as I'm looking at things, instead of drawing the roof line of the house, I'm going to look at drawing where the sky, I can't draw that in, where the sky touches the building. I'm also going to look at the negative space between these buildings. And I'm not sure what, there's some windows up in here and here. So I'm going to look at those spaces as well. So I've got my handy-dandy sketchbook here. And rather than worrying about drawing in the whole piece of paper, because I'm just coming up with ideas, I'm going to start with a format box. And so the format box gives me a much smaller space to come up with my composition. You hear my awesome dog barking. So rather than worrying about all of the space, let me switch sides so this will be better. There we go. I'm going to look at where things like the roof line come in. So looking at the top of the picture plane, I've got a roof line that comes in like this and then kicks down and straight up where the chimney happens. Now I'm dealing with perspective, and my understanding of perspective is pretty strong. So I come down here, but then back here I've got some trees. I've got a pine tree that happens here, and then the roof line of the next building comes up and kicks back this way, and then up and up and up and over. Now, you can see that I've fallen off of my format box. So what? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this up and over and down. So I've just enlarged my picture plane. Hold on a second. Well, that didn't help at all. So what else am I going to look at here? I noticed that within the building there are some other negative spaces, some spaces that really don't exist. Well, they're really there, but I can assume that there's something else. So I'm going to play around with the ideas of the negative space of the windows. So I've got some window here, and then I know that I've got trees in front of it, but I know that there's another window down here. And again, I'm looking at the negative space. I'm also paying attention to the idea of perspective. So my windows go in a certain direction. Now if I had an eraser, I could erase that out. I don't. So that does this here. I make an adjustment there. Now, on this space, I also know that somewhere in here there's another window inside that, behind that tree. So how do I want to do that? Do I want to play with that? I'm going to play with that idea of another bit of negative space back in here. It might not really be there. I mean, I know there's really a window there. Now, if I move over to this space, there's a much larger set of windows on the facade of this building. Whew, windy day. So I can bring a vertical line up here, and then it curves over, and down, and there. So this is a pretty basic introduction to the idea of negative space. But this is my first of many thumbnails before I come into any finished product. So take a look at the negative space you're dealing with, whether it's out in a landscape and you're dealing with the space between trees or between buildings, or maybe you're doing a still life. You set up arrangement of objects, and instead of drawing the objects themselves, you concentrate on the negative space. Or maybe it's a cow, and you've got that great black and white of a cow, and you draw the bigness of the cow, but focus in on the shapes of that. Maybe the black you treat as the positive space, so all you do is draw the white of the animal, or a dog, or a, I don't know, spotted cat, or something like that. So what I'm asking you to do is think about how you're dealing with the idea of negative space. That's your focal point. That's the most important part of this particular composition. My first project, my first idea, I'm drawing the negative space, the sky, the openness of the windows of these buildings. Maybe I switch it over and draw the negative space within the branches of a tree. Or, like you heard earlier, see if I can do this, the brown and white spots of my dog. So whatever your negative space is, you think about how you're going to be dealing with that. Thanks for joining me on artwithcorb.com, and I look forward to seeing your images. Thanks.